Yep, stack.
Triple threat.
Expected value. Now take what you learn, go out there, and get stacked.
Alright, I'm back for the last part, and this will be quite a long final table, I think. It is important to note at this point that, as I mentioned in the previous part, that Master Scott is the wild card, and all the other players around here will know. I remember quite a few of them were actually speaking to him, kind of like egging him on and just trying to get him to be a bit more spazzy. And that did change the dynamics quite a lot of the final table. So just to note that everyone else will be making the same adjustments that we did, if they're good players. And I think this is a spot where lots of people get separated from really good tournament players to kind of good tournament players. It's just how you adjust to unique dynamics like this. And I imagine lots of the players around here, they were a lot more experienced than I was, and they would have been adjusting very, very well to it. So yeah, we see player please isolating just to get in, and not winning the flip, not even a flip. So yeah, Malaka styled. It's a small thing to note that he shoved but didn't actually quite shove. He put 90k in, and the reason he did that is on the off chance that there's no real downside to it, and the upside is that on the off chance that he raises, Surge shoves, player shoves, and Mascot shoves, he can fold and ladder up a couple of positions. So yeah, I think it's slightly higher EV to raise to 90 than it is to shove. But it's something I quite often forget to do. Mascot raising 3x. Here again, I could 3-bet. I imagine I folded though, just for the same reasons. And I feel that there's going to be a lot of me saying that I could do this, but I didn't. Yeah, could have called with 6s, but I didn't. Yeah, especially because if any of these three guys that pick up a value hand, they will be squeezing versus Master Scott, because his range is so ridiculously wide. If they have ace jack or ace queen, they'll be raising to get it in. So yeah, I feel that peeling there with 6s would just mean that we're burning money a lot of time. You can see Master got limped again, and yeah, he's folding to shove. EPAC probably had something like 8s or 9s that he didn't really want to see a flop with Master Scott, and knew that he was ahead of Master Scott's limping range. I think it would be fine to open ace-9 here just due to the fact that it's Master Scott's big blind, but he wasn't 3-betting that much, and I don't think other people are going to be calling that light just because it is his big blind. So yeah, we flopped second pair, and if you remember last hand, when we checked back, I said that he would probably be betting pretty much his entire range on the turn. I think that is going to be true again, so with second pair I think we can check back and profitably call quite easily. When he checks again, it makes me believe that if he's not bluffing, he probably has a piece of this board that isn't strong enough to bet, and pretty much all of those hands we beat. So we can bet pretty confidently for value. I went on the larger side. Like half pot in the final table is quite large. It's usually, I think the standard is about third, because Master Scott, he wasn't paying attention to bet sizing, and yeah, I feel that I can quite confidently go half pot again on the river, and I imagine he had either a weak 9 or an 8. And as we saw from before, he was very happy to call down with like second, third pair. Ace jack, it's fine to raise, get 2 calls, and I don't mind anything here. I think checking back would be okay. I wouldn't mind shoving, as I think if I bet small, Master Scott might shove, and it's kind of not a nice spot if we call. But if we get maximum fold equity, yeah, I'm happy past me shove there, so that's fine. Not going to peel with King 5, I think. Just no need. And yeah, you can see Surge Nuts there checking to Master Scott, just hoping that he'll bluff at it. I'm not sure he made quite the correct adjustment there. I probably would have bet small or something, but equally, I think checking is also fine. And as Master Scott gets shorter and shorter, the dynamics will go back to normal because he doesn't have much of an influence on people's chip stacks. I wouldn't mind 3-betting here, but equally we are the 2 table chip leaders, or two of the 3, and there's not too much point in going to war. Especially because I think that it'll be a spot where it was like the first spot where Master Scott wasn't involved, and we could play quite aggressively, and I would expect him to expect us to 3-bet quite like that. Okay, with Ace Jack here as 5 bigs, I think we're just calling, and apparently folding. It is 5 big blinds. We are very, very far ahead of his range. I'm not sure if that is a fold or not, but the downside to calling would be that pretty much every single person here will be able to shove for value if they have something like 10s, ace queen, or ace king, and we would have to fold to most of them, I think. And even if we don't, say if Mr. Bitter shoves and we have to call just because we have pot odds against their ranges, then if we lose, we're down to 400k. Whereas at the moment, we don't really care about taking that much of a marginal spot because we have such a good position on the table. And he gets called. And player please, yeah. Not that it matters at all, but it looks like we would have called and player please would have shoved. And we would have had to fold. So down to 8 finally. Here I'm raising king 10. It's a bit loose, but Master Scott is in big blinds, and I am happy to get in king 10 against him, especially for a very small amount of chips. And we get shoved on by somebody that has 4 bigs, so we're obviously calling. Master Scott is also in, and we're in. And we have a sweat. I'm in the river. Yeah, okay, so this is the point where we run pretty good. We beat ace king in 6-7. And yeah, there's not much to say about that. It's just luck. Here with king 9, I feel that again it's a spot where he'd be expecting me to play back, especially after I've won a big pot. And I'm not too happy 3-betting king 9. I don't really like calling with that position because it doesn't flop too well. So I think a lot of hands there I'll be 3-betting, but I prefer to do it in position, I think, especially since we're getting a bit deeper again. So yeah, a lot of this now is just going to be shoving. I make a very tight fold there with king queen. I think that a lot of people would say that's a mistake, and I imagine past me had a reason to. I guess that it's because everyone in front of me apart from the nerd guy is a shove stack, and as much as I would be fine calling off against Epac and Mr. Bitter, it wouldn't be a great spot, and I don't know. I think I'd still like to see myself raise that, so in hindsight, I think that would be a raise. Maybe I had a better reason back then. Yeah, so just a lot of raising and shoving, and this is where it's quite important to just know your shoving ranges, or have someone next to you that knows their shoving ranges. And yeah, nothing too exciting is going to happen. So yeah, making more tight folds. It's not too bad to get yourself a tight image at a final table, as long as you know how to abuse it later on in the tournament, or later on in the table, sorry. So if I have folded, say, 3 orbits in a row, then I would definitely be opening up a lot lighter than I usually would. Here for 15 bigs, I am definitely way ahead of Surge Nut's range, and although there is the nerd guy that's in front of us, that's only one person to shove into, and shoving 9s into one person is never bad, and I think it's just a clear shove. He's going to be shoving a lot worse, and I feel that it's the same spot as earlier, that he would be raise calling all his nutted hands like aces, kings, and ace king, so don't need to worry. And 9s do flop sets, so that's fine. Oh, apparently he wouldn't be. Apparently not. But I still feel that he'd be raise calling with ace king, with aces and kings, so maybe queens. But some people are big fans of just open shoving ace king. I think that was a small mistake by him, but never mind. So yeah, we're down to the final 5 people. I think people are going to be getting a lot more aggressive now. And that was basically a flip for who goes out, so Mr. Bitter is ridiculously short stacked. and is all in the small blind. Oh, he's come back. Can't actually remember what happens. But... So we're currently the table chip leader. So this would be a very, very good spot to put a lot of pressure on the two 1.2 and 1.4 million stacks. Just because with Mr. Bitter almost going out, it would be ridiculous for them to make a bad play or a marginal play and bust and not get the ladder up. That's something that's called ICM, and you just have to be very aware of how much your chips are worth at that point in the tournament. And we get a re-isolate, and it was a fair enough hand to do it with. So yeah, we're down to 4. Fifth got paid 13,700, and fourth gets paid 19,500. So yeah, there's a bit of play now in stacks. I think yeah, we're about 50 bigs deep, but nobody else is quite that deep. Yeah, this is the first 3-bet in a while, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Because I've been getting quite a tight table image, I can start loosening up, and I think this is one of the good times to do it. When like people wouldn't expect you to do it that often, once everyone's kind of similar stacks. And I imagine Player Please would have been opening almost 100% of hands, which he, like almost all of them, he can't continue with. So yeah, time to loosen up a bit. And this is the point in the tournament where every pot is quite significant. Yeah, here with Ace Queen Suited, we're 3-betting to get in, obviously. It's for 20 big blinds, and we're so ahead of the hands that he's going to be shoving. And we hit the river again, because we run like God, right? So we played a bit. We played a bit 3-handed, and we didn't make a deal at first. I think after a while, 3-handed, we ended up making a deal. I'll speak about it when I think it happens. Here I defend Ace Deuce suited. Lots of people 3-bet this. I think it has too much playability to 3-bet, considering we get 4-bet a lot, and I don't really want to 5-bet shove it. So I think calling's a lot better. This is a board that the nerd guy, after opening the button, will be missing a lot of the time, and we have backdoor diamonds and we have a backdoor straight. So it's a board that we can double barrel on diamonds or a 4 or a 5, and also if when we lead and the turn comes a heart, then we can rep hearts, because lots of people love to lead with flush draws. So yeah, that happens. An odd turn. I think that I would prefer a bet here rather than a check, but also a check's not awful. But I think just because we do take it down so often, it's the ultimate barrel card for us. Considering we have an ace as well, it means it's so much less likely that he has an ace. So imagine you're the nerd guy sitting there with Queen Jack on 9-10, and the board's that after we lead into you twice. You're pretty much never happy. And yeah, we bet the river as well, just for very thin value. But I would consider checking the river sometimes, but I think that anything that checks back will fold anyway, and we beat that. And then there are some hands that will call the river that we beat. So if he does get stubborn with King Jack or King Queen with the King of Hearts or something like that, then he will probably pay off a small bet on the river. And he can't bluff raise us when we bet small either, because still a lot of our range is just nutted hands like hearts and sets. So yeah, I think, well, not sets really, but just hearts, pocket threes. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good line to take. And that's the spot where you have to just be aware that when you're calling out the small blinds, you are, when you're calling out the big blinds, your range is going to be a bit more defined than his. And leading on wet boards, I think, is a really good play in pretty much any stage of the tournament, because there's just not much you can do. Imagine if you're here, say if the ace doesn't come, say if you're here and you're sitting there with like ace king, there's basically nothing you can do, even though you have a really strong hand. So I think, yeah, leading with a lot of air, but sometimes balancing that with some draws and some sets maybe is a really good play to do. So yeah, raising, I think around this point we made a deal. It was probably a bit later than this, but just talking about, I feel that he falls that, yeah. Yeah, I think it was this pot. It was exactly this hand actually. Yeah, talking about this, I had already searched the two players that were playing against, and they were both players that have made hundreds of thousands in tournaments over the last few years. And as much as I consider myself a very cash game player, I imagine that they would have a slight edge in tournaments, maybe. So it would always be higher EV, or not always, but I expect it would be higher EV to make a deal here against two players that are very good, even if it does mean that I would get less money if I come first. Because and also it does decrease variance, and tournament players do love decreasing variance any way that they can, because the third place was 26k and the first place was 49k. So yeah, and there's also something to speak about with stack size as well. At the moment it's quite difficult for us to go out last, but equally if somebody does double through us, then we're pretty much equal. But at the moment when I get a deal, I will be getting a lot more money than the other two, just because we have a lot more chips. And there are two types of deals you can do. It's ICM or chip chop. I think we went for ICM in the end because I imagine they thought they had a slight edge on a cash game player. But I think that's fine. And also I don't think, even though we don't come last very often, we quite often come second, because say if Epac knocks out the nerd guy, then we're heads up, basically equal stacks, and by making a deal we're pretty much ensuring we get more than second place, and then we left 5k to play for up top, which we did. I'll carry on for that. So bear in mind that around now people will be playing a bit looser, even though they'll still be good players, so not too loose. It's quite good in this sort of position for a big stack though, because those two are still in a spot where they're basically playing for second most of the time, and they won't be wanting to get it in against me. They'll either be wanting to get it in good against the other person, or wait for the other person to get it in against me. By get it, I mean get all in pre-flop. And so I can put a lot of pressure on both of them, and they will both be wanting each other to go all in against me, so they will be less likely to shove on me. And yeah, basically that's due to ICM. And if anybody has free time, and they don't know about that, I would definitely try looking that up. Epac Failure limps in the small blinds. He hasn't done that yet, but so I'm not sure what to make of it. But usually it just means it's a marginal hands that he would like to sit flop with, but doesn't want to raise. I decided to check with the 9-8. I think that I will have a small post-flop edge against tournament players just through my cash, so I think I can try and see as many flops as possible. I definitely could raise, and say if I made it 4x, there's a very decent chance he folds, but also he might be limp shoving. So yeah, I decided to take post-flop, and I feel that I just folded as soon as this happened, because as much as that doesn't quite hit his limping range, it's quite difficult for me to rep something on this board say on the turn. Say if the turn comes like I don't know, a jack or something, I can't really keep betting as a bluff, because then I'm basically repping a jack instead of a 6 or a 4 or a deuce, and my value range would get increasingly smaller, sorry. So on those kind of boards I like to give up. Here for 20 bigs, I'm just shoving against this guy. I can shove very light here, due to the bubble factors basically, and the fact that he has to call off it with a really tight range, because those two are such similar stacks. So yeah, 20 big blinds with an ace blind versus blind is quite good. I decided to fold my button there with Jack 10. The blinds have just gone up and they've gone to 20 bigs, and that is just a perfect shove stack for them. And I decided that I would be happier playing heads up a bit deeper than I would be just getting it in just with even slightly marginal higher EV, just because I'm so much happier playing post flop than I'm pre flop. But yeah, ace 9 equally, after saying that, is a shove. And also, come back to the Jack 10, I think that now that we've made a deal, those two will be definitely playing for first place a lot more, so they'll be a lot more willing to shove a lot lighter. But that said, I'm still quite happy just getting a lot of steals in. But I'm not going to be going crazy with it. So yeah, for 20 bigs, he's going to be shoving a lot worse than King 10, I think. And yeah, King 10 three-handed against a good player, I think, is always going to be a good in spot. But we lose that one, and someone's up to 2 million. So that changes things a bit. Now the no guy definitely has to double up, so he'll be a bit more aggressive. And Epac failure will be trying to put pressure on him, but he'll also be able to put more pressure on us because he can make a large dent in our stack now. Yeah, so it's very good to see those two get all in, especially for us, because now we get to play heads up and we get to play a bit deeper stacked, so there's more post-flop play, which I think is very good. Yeah, so folding 10-3 on the button. Some people like to play 100% of buttons, I don't at all. Yeah, so we defend, we flop bottom 2, and somebody once told me, this is definitely not true, but somebody once told me you always should fast play bottom 2. It's definitely not true, but in this spot, I think when stacks are this shallow as well in tournaments, it's always going to be the best move. So I make it massive. Yeah, that is a really big raise in comparison to how big I should be raising, and it makes me look like I have a draw, I think, a lot of the time. So imagine if Epac has ace king or ace queen, I don't think he can fold on the flop especially. Turn's not great. It completes queen jack, which he would play exactly the same, and it turns a lot of the hands that I'll be semi-bluffing into a pair plus a straight draw hand. So if I was check raising jack 9 there, then I can't really, if I did have jack 9, I can't really bet this turn because now I've picked up showdown value, and probably enough to continue with, and he'd expect me to check a lot of those hands. So 9-7 jack 9, and I don't know, just 9x of spades. So I bet a bit smaller. This means that I can be all in on the river with just under a pot size bet, I think. Yeah, just about. And I think that he would also expect me to do this with the flush draw quite often. And if he does have, say, ace king here, he may well shove just to try and protect against a flush draw. So he calls, and the river's pretty horrible. Obviously makes 4 to a straight, and 2 pairs not looking so good anymore. So when we check here, we have to check. I mean, we can't really bluff or value bet, so because value bet would just be ridiculous. We're just value cutting ourselves too often, and bluffing would also be bad because, well, we may have the best hand, and if we don't, he's going to be calling with better almost all the time, and he can have a lot of jack x in his range. So he could have played 10 jack, queen jack, ace jack, 8 jack 8, and jack 9 all the same. So and that is a lot more jacks than we have in our range. So basically this is going to go check, he shoves, we fold a lot of the time. And also when we check, he can start shoving for value a lot more thin. Like he can shove ace queen, ace 10 for value, and 8s, 10s, whatever, because we just never have a jack there. So that was an unfortunate run out for bottom 2, but it's fine. Raise 10-6, I think it's fine. C-bet and fold. The sizing, I'll just mention quickly, for c-betting heads up is a lot more similar to when you're playing heads up cash now, because ICM isn't as much of a thing because everyone else is out. Your chips are worth their own face value now. So yeah, you can start c-betting like half pot as you normally would in cash. Although it may be a bit smaller just because stacks are a bit shallower. So yeah, we open queen deuce and flop top pair. We're definitely, okay, we're not definitely. Thanks, past me. Okay, well, a lot of the time I would be c-betting here, but I guess I thought that Epac failure was going to be betting the turn a lot if I check back, and I'll be getting more value from checking back and calling twice. It's the same kind of, if you're watching the first part, it's the same kind of spot as when I check the king 5. It's nice to have hands like this in your checking range, just because people can't bluff you off hands too much, and so it protects my range. When the 10 comes, this is also kind of similar to another spot. It's a bit different, but he would be expecting me to check back a 10 so often right now. So I think that if he had any nutted hands, then he would probably be checking. I feel that when he bets here, he's very weighted towards maybe a strong 10, most of which he'd probably 3-bet pre-flop, or draws. I think almost 80% of the time is going to be a draw here. So I went for the min raise, and just for protection. It does overrate my hand a bit, but I do like it just because he has so many draws in his range, and that means I can check back almost every river. So say if he has Jack 9 of spades here, when I min raise the turn and he calls, and the river comes a spade, he would have to lead out, and that would look so out of flow. Whereas I can just check back on those spades and make him look pretty stupid. So min raising the turn, I think, when people have draws it's a thing. I like it. Yeah, so we get 8s, and we're 3-betting this for value, and we're going to get it in if he wants, but he does not. I kind of wish that I had my first 3-bet as a bluff. I generally like to have my first one as a bluff and then the second one for value. I think it creates a leveling spot that's quite good. So we open 4-10. I imagine I'm c-betting this most of the time, yeah. And when he check calls here, he has a lot of stuff. There's a lot of gut shots. Just any 8 or any 10 makes a gut shot. I feel that he'd check call most of them. Stuff like King Queen that decide not to 3-bet pre as well, and Queen 10 would also quite often check call. And then 9x, 7x, and Jack X. So basically he has a lot in his range. And we can have quite a lot as well because we've just c-bet. So I feel that quite often I would just be triple barrel bluffing in this spot. Especially since a lot of his hands, as they are, just 9x and 7x on that strong. And even though he is going to call us say if he has Queen Jack, I think most of his hands do fold by the river. So I make it quite sizable. The diamonds do help us a bit. There are more diamonds in our range, but I just think that a lot of his hands are just going to have to fold marginal showdown value. And this is the point where I was quite comfortable assuming that I had a post-flop edge. I'd seen him make a couple of plays that I thought weren't optimal. They were fine. He was a very good player, but I don't think he was a cash game player. So yeah, 3-bet ace jack for value again. Queen Jack. It's his first 3-bet, so there would be an argument for folding, but I think Queen Jack's too strong to fold, heads up. And yeah, on this kind of board, we can't really do anything. He can check pretty much any marginal showdown value, and then see if we have an ace, and if not, that's fine. But also I would be checking back weak aces, say like ace jack, ace 10, ace 9, in that spot as well, just so I have protected my range. With Queen 10, I think it's too strong to 3-bet because he may 4-bet, and we've been 3-betting a lot recently, so I'd like to just see a flop with hand that flops really well. When he checks back, I feel that he's just got 9x and 5x a lot, maybe king high. So I think that even though he probably would call one on the turn, he wouldn't call one on the river, and by checking we give him a chance to bluff all his king highs, and maybe turn something like 5-6 into a bluff as well. And he does bet, and we check call. And right now our hand looks like basically it looks like queen, maybe a 9 or a 5. And we check down, and yeah, 5-6. So I think I may have just remembered that from when it happened. Yeah, retake it. 3-betting ace 5. I think that he's not too likely to peel these kind of hands, but I don't think he's likely to peel at the moment just because we've been 3-betting a lot. I think that if he were going to play back, he would probably 4-bet, but he did not. He's been folding to a lot of 3-bets, and as a good player, he'll be very aware that he has. So as he folds more and more, I'll be very willing to turn my 3-betting hands into hands that I would want to be jamming over a 4-bet. So pocket pairs and maybe suited aces as well as the value hands, because I expect him to want to play back quite a lot. Here's the same kind of situation as before. I'm checking back second pair. It's good to check back second pair on these boards as well, because lots of people will think that you're just checking back to give up quite often. So say for instance if I had 7-8 here, I would check back and I would not put a single chip into the pot. So they will be bluffing the turn reasonably often if they have air as well. But yeah, it checks. He checks. Check folds anyway. Yeah, so as I was saying, I don't think he's going to be peeling. I think he's either going to be 4-betting or folding. from what we've seen, mostly folding. So I decided to turn 3-7 into a hand that I 3-bet, as opposed to a suited connector, because I don't think we're going to see too many flops, so it doesn't really matter what we 3-bet. As long as we don't do it too much, I think. Yeah, same with king 10, I think it's too strong, I don't want to get 4-bet off. He goes check check, and the ace is a bad card because he can check behind ace high quite often, but I do expect him to c-bet a lot of his ace highs. So we're check calling and probably check folding most rivers. The deuce is good because it means he's less likely to bluff, because there's 4 to a straight out there. But so when he does bet, we can be more confident that he's going to have a better hand, and that we make a good fold. Ace 8 with flop top 2. It's quite annoying top 2. There's little that he can have because we got blockers, but I'm not complaining. But it's pretty hard to get value. There's an argument for checking back there, but I think on an ace high board he'll be expecting us to check back something with marginal showdown value, so we lose any value that we could get from him bluffing, just because I don't think he will bluff. I imagine the blind's got, yeah, so he raised before. 9-10 suited, flop top pair again. So yeah, we were running pretty good on flops, maybe not on how it ends though. We get check raise. At the moment, there are very few value hands he can have. I don't think he defends 10-6 offsuit, and he's been folding a lot, so he might not even defend 10-7 offsuit. And we have the blocker to the 10, so it's basically pocket 6s, pocket 7s, maybe 10-7 suited, and 10-6 suited maybe. So there's just a lot of draws and a lot of non-hands. When he barrels the jack, I think that he barrels quite small, I guess, relative to how wide the board is. But I wouldn't read too much into that, because it does just create a pot-sized bet on the end. And we pick up a gut shot as well, and we hit our gut shot. So at this point, we need to be considering what kind of hands he has and what kind of hands he thinks we have again, so our ranges. And by calling twice, we need to think specifically how many 9s are in our range. So we can obviously have 10-9. We probably can't have jack-9, because I think he'd expect us to fold that most of the time on the flop. And we could maybe have 7-9, but I think he'd also expect us to fold that on the turn. So there's actually, compared to last time, there's a lot fewer 9s. We can also have 9x of diamonds, but there aren't too many combinations of that don't get it in on the flop, at least anyway. Because that would be a combo draw on the flop, so we'd probably just get that in. So we can't actually have too many 9s, so we can actually bet quite big for value here if we consider him to be a good player post-flop, and quite small if we think that we're just trying to get thin value from, say, 2 pair. So yeah, I went quite big in comparison, and he ends up calling with 10-8, shows that we were actually ahead all along. And this is spot right. I'm sure he is an extremely good player, but I do not like his play at all. He was on the flop, I guess, value raising with the worst hand, it turns out, and on the turn he was turning his hand into a bluff. I just think that's too strong a hand to turn into a bluff. He's not getting caught by worse, and he is getting caught by better, and there is a lot better. And there are just other hands in his range that he could use to bluff instead of top pair or second pair. So I think that was quite bad by him, and I also think that his river call wasn't great either. It wasn't awful, but there aren't too many bluffs that we can have, and we can genuinely be bluffing with the worst hand when we bet the river, with the best hand, sorry. So, because I know that a lot of people, when they get to this spot, they'll just jam, or they'll bet quite big on the river with a 10x that they decided that they can't call anything on the river. But yeah, as it goes, he was bluffing with a slightly worse hand, and it turned out well. So yeah, he's pretty short on chips right now. I defend 9-5 just because he's shorter now, so we can apply a lot of pressure post-flop. I feel that with any pair we can just check jam quite profitably, or we can check raise quite profitably. And again, we flop top pair, which is getting ridiculous. He checks back the flop, and the 6 is an interesting card, I think, because I think he would expect us, when we check twice, to have just overcards, mostly. And if he expects us to have overcards, he would probably bet most of his range to try and fold us off equity that we have in the pot. So, and also the 6 does bring gut shots that are quite easy to get. So any 5 makes a gut shot, any deuce makes a gut shot, any 7 makes a gut shot. And people just love betting gut shots if they have little equity in the pot. Apart from that, so he bets, and we are very small. And I imagine that he would be betting a 4 or 6 here just to try and protect against overcards. And I also imagine he will call with worse. The river's interesting, makes 4 to a straight. I need to begin thinking how many 7s and deuces he has in his range. I think there are quite a few. But the problem is he also has a lot of other stuff, like 2 pairs that we beat. So I ended up betting because I don't want to be bluffed off my hands. I don't think if he does have something like, I don't know, like 4 deuce suited or ace 4, I don't think he will turn it into a bluff here. I think he'll either consider folding or calling, just because I definitely can have a 7. And he's on a stack size where if he shoves and bluffs and I call, then I win the tournament. And I feel that that is quite difficult to be bluffing in that if you're him, because it looks like I'm going to be calling a lot. And he folds, and I imagine he just had something like ace 4 or ace 6. And with 8s, we were planning to get it all in, but it did not happen. Can't call off queen 7. Raise fold. Yeah, this is the point where it's just maths and just need to know your shoving ranges and stuff. We lose that one. Jack 10 versus king. We can be quite selective in the hands. We can be quite aggressive in the hands that we shove, just because he's calling for his tournament life and he has to call off with a stronger range than we're shoving. So on this board, I think it's fine to shove. I think we can sometimes get caught by worse, and when we do get caught by better, we have a lot of outs. We have any 4, any 5, any 6, and I think that generally we're just going to get a lot of folds because he'd c-bet that with his entire range, which consists of loads of overcards. 7-5. He ends up leading at this, and I don't really know what to make of that generally at the time, but we have a perfect hand to just jam in his face again. And I feel like, yeah, we sucked out. So that is how to suck out in the tournament, and that is the whole tournament. I ended up getting 44,900 from the tournament. Okay, and that's over. This has been Charlie Carrel for grips.com. Get stacking.
Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Stack it up, cash it in, damn, I win again. Many friends come to play, cause I'm on the internet. Better yet, I flop the turn and take a chance upon the river. I'll bluff you with the 7-2 offsuit, whatever's clever, call you all in while your chip stacks falling. Better believe the dealer, cause the game just started. Don't know the rules, you bet it all and then you risk it. If you wanna learn it, you should go online and hit up Grips. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Ever since a young cat, want a pocket stack with cash in the fast stack, crammed in the clam clip. Gotta get the action, gotta get it stacking. Dollars on the noggin, want a lot of transactions. Started as a little retarded, now with the knowledge, playing cards, flopping, bombarded, cause it was harder than I thought. Then I got on Grips.com, asking and got what I needed to beat him and get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you how to get stacking. Grips.com tell you how to get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com